Hi, and welcome to TV My Husband Hates. I'm Cat Sims.
And I'm Reagan Kempton.
And we are reality TV addicts?
Addicts, aficionados?
Ooh, I like that. Experts.
Experts.
Basically, we know our shit when it comes to reality TV.
100%.
Hey everyone, and welcome to TV My Husband Hates. We are back for another week of all the reality TV chat that you need. Reagan, how you doing?
I'm good. Still podcasting from the car. That's going to be old news because that's the rest of the year.
Is that how long it's going to take? Are you going to be in your car for how long?
I think I will be in my car until January. Like, I think we're going to start 2021 back to normal in our house anyways.
I was about to say, are you like referring to that on a global scale?
No, not on a global scale. I think it's going to be a long time before we get back to normal on that. However, this was my first week where both kids have been in school for 5 days in a row, and it's been incredible. Like, it's given me a taste of what life was like.
Well, I have to say, this normally you come to me and you're like, how you doing, Kat? I'm like, listen, it's shit. But actually, actually, things are looking up because I am so used to having the kids home from school for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah.
And Jimmy is now in the studio all week next week. He's got work, which is great. And I was there going, oh, God, like I've got the kids for the week and I've got to work. I've got no help. It's going to be a nightmare. And then it occurred to me in a moment of joyful exhilaration that actually both the kids are, touch wood, in school next week. And Jimmy is at the house, which means that I am going to have the house to myself for between the hours of 9 and 3 every single day. I'm
so excited for you. You're going to love it. You are going to love it.
It's given me goosebumps. Like, this is I can't even tell you how excited I am. But also at the same time, I'm really nervous because I feel like I'm going to get really into it and really up for it. And then I'm going to get a fucking email that says,
right,
little Johnny Two Legs has been diagnosed with fucking COVID.
As opposed to little Jimmy Four Legs.
And your kids have to stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
But so far, this is the plan. This is what's happening. So I'm excited.
I'm super excited for you because my husband has also he's got just like a 2-person office. So he's actually at work every day this week too. So I've had the same. So like I've had the house all to myself from 8:30 until about 2:45 when I have to go do the school run. And it's been glorious. Even with people working in the house and banging and crazy, it's been glorious.
I said to Jimmy, listen, you watch. The house will be spotless. The fucking meals will be home cooked. That my work will be done. I will be a joy. He's like, I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah, I hope you don't get your period this week.
It's due. Oh, fuck, it's due. It's really due. Oh.
Sorry. I don't mean to bring
that. I'll take that. If that's the only downside, I'll take it.
For sure.
I'll take it. So, listen, we're introducing a slightly new segment this week, aren't we?
Do-do-do. Yes, we are.
You should honk your horn.
Did you hear it?
So we're introducing a slightly new segment. We want to get you guys more involved because we love that you're telling us loads of stuff on social media, and we always forget, but mostly because there isn't a dedicated segment to it. So we've now introduced the post bag, which is the bit where we will, on social media, ask you a specific question to respond to. And it will be related to something that we've seen on reality TV, right?
Yes.
This week, because of that convo on Below Deck at the dinner table where one of the mums were like, so what's been your peak and your pit?
Such a mom question.
Oh my God, it's such a mom question. And it's true because we do it every night at the dinner table. I'm like, what was your peak? We thought we'd ask you guys. Now, it's going to take a while to build, so I'm going to be honest. We got one motherfucking response.
Woo! We got one.
Because it's a really good one.
It is a really good one.
So let me just find it because I clearly am not that organized. I screenshotted it. Here we go. So this is from _Maddie Merck _ on Instagram.
Oh, I love her.
She's great. And she says, my pit would be work. I swear, when people leave your organization, all the big bosses lose their mind. Besides how exhausting it is to listen to entitled old white men that don't get with today of how important diversity and inclusion is, all people should be represented at the table, not just conservative old white guys from old school boys clubs.
Reach, my sister, 100%.
That. She says her peak was going to Pilates and being able to do moves like the skinny girls. This Latina has a booty to do, and to do full planks and bridges is a win for me. Babe, you
That's
are
amazing.
killing it this week.
Hell yes.
We love that, and it's lovely to hear from you. So watch out for it on our social media. Go and take a listen. You can either DM us or you can drop us an email at hey@tvmyhusbandhates and answer the question. But we're going to be picking the best ones. Maybe eventually we'll even figure out a way to give prizes for the best ones.
Ooh, I think that would be a good idea. We'll probably need to get on some like merch planning.
I still love the idea of a Smart People Watch Reality TV pop socket.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Let's start looking into it.
Let's
So, Kat,
yeah.
What was your pit and your peak for this week?
Oh, okay. So my hit was, see, normally I'm negative Nancy and I can really quickly, it's generally all one big pit. But this week seems to have been quite, I can't think of a pit. I can't think of a pit, but I can think of a peak.
Okay, we'll do your peak first.
So my peak was today, actually, because I went to the blood donor center because they're looking for people who have had COVID so that they can nick their antibodies effectively to help people who have COVID fight it.
Yeah.
So I went to get my antibody test done. I don't know how to out the results yet, but I felt really fucking good to be giving some shit back to society.
That's amazing. I've always not been able to donate blood because of like seizure medication and things like that. Like my blood would only be able to be used for a very specific person that is on my exact stuff. But I'm always a massive proponent of it. Like it's the easiest thing people can do to really help out everybody. And I love that, you know, they're trying to figure out a way to really help people who have COVID, you know, moving forward.
Well, and it's really interesting because I donate blood regularly, but they take the plasma this time, which is when they basically suck the blood out of you, put it in a whizzy thing, which isn't the technical term.
Right.
Somebody who I used to teach with, who's I went to university with, he's a scientist. He's just informed me that it's a centrifuge. Anyway, does that, separates the plasma from the blood, and then puts the blood back in your body.
That's amazing. So, like, when you go back, like, once you get your test, will you go back and they'll put the blood back in, or have they already put the blood back in?
No, so they've taken the blood to test me for antibodies. Then, if I have enough antibodies, they will then take my plasma, which is basically like blood donation. They stick me with a needle, and I sit there for an hour, and they take my blood out of my body, and it whizzes through a machine next to me, and then that separates it, and then at the same time, they put the blood back into my body.
That's fascinating.
I know.
Fucking modern science, man.
It's like magic. So I'm really excited. I'm really hoping I've got enough antibodies. I suspect maybe not because it was March and I had a mild case. Although the fact that I lost my sense of taste and smell for 5 to 6 weeks apparently could mean that it wasn't a mild case. So we'll see.
That's exciting. I'm super proud of you. Well done for helping out.
Thanks, Dave. What was your peak and pit?
What was my pit? I'm like you. Like, I find it really hard to think of a pit. I mean, I think generally my pit is having to share one bathroom with like 3 other people in a basement setting. 3 other boys. I never realized how gross my boys are because they've always had like their own bathroom. But yeah, that's it's a mild pit. It's doable, but you know, it's a little stressful. And not having a stove to like cook on. I'm having to get really creative with like my Instapot and my slow cooker and things like that.
Do you have like a camping stove?
I do. I bought this brilliant little butane 1-burner, so I have like a 1-burner stove. They're amazing. So I do have that, which I'm thankful for. But I think my peak was like actually being able to like work and have a pseudo schedule this week. I worked out 3 times this week. And like have gotten everything done. So like that's my peak. I feel like I've been a productive member of society this week.
And you're about to head off for a weekend in Aspen, so you know that's pretty good too.
Yeah, it is good.
Right, we're going to get on with the first show before we do our usual undignified plea for rates and reviews. We got another one in this week which gave me such the warm and fuzzies. I loved it.
Oh,
it was great.
It was. Did that one? Do you have it with you? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, do you know what? I think I do.
Let's give her a shout out because it was lovely.
Here it was. Oh, I don't have who did it, but she said it was a podcast too amazing to be missed. She doesn't normally review things because there was no way she'd miss out on reviewing this amazing podcast. It's one of my most played podcasts, and I look forward to listening to it every week. They have a great balance of hilarious chats, which are interwoven with insightful comments on current affairs. Keep going, ladies. You are the best.
Yay! Thank you.
Can't say
I love that.
Anyway, if you're listening and you haven't yet rated and reviewed, please do. It means a lot to us. But that said, let's get a shimmy on down to the Real Housewives of Potomac, where really there is only one thing to talk about.
Yep, it's the Monique and Candace fight recap, essentially.
This, to me, seems pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know why people have to gather to kind of rehash this. I mean, I get that they didn't really get together to rehash it. Like, the get-together was more for Monique to apologize, but I don't really feel like that's what happened.
No, she didn't apologize.
No.
She didn't. She came to justify herself.
Yeah.
And I think she came maybe with an idea of trying to make it right, but her actions weren't matching her words. And I think the tweets that she'd been tweeting were
so gross.
Just an indication of her complete inability to just sit down and say, guys, I fucked up. I'm really sorry.
I think you are 100% correct. Like, I wrote down, she's just embarrassed. She's not remorseful for what she did. She's just embarrassed that it happened.
100%. Now, I have to say, I'm not sure about Giselle's behavior in this whole thing.
No, I mean, I think bringing a security guard was really meant to, like, wind up and kind of poke the bear versus going into it. I mean, not that she has to go into it with an open mind. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have, but maybe I just wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think turning up with a security guard was kind of over-egging the pudding, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what I found really interesting is Ashley's response as well, because the other women, Robin, Wendy, and Giselle, came in and were like, this is not okay. It's not okay. And anything less than bended knee and desperate apology is not good enough. Ashley was way more sympathetic in her response, and I wondered what you thought of that.
I was actually kind of wondering if it was because of Candace and Ashley's past, like that maybe she could identify more with Monique, or maybe it's that she could identify Monique with, like, maybe just feeling overwhelmed with new baby and all this shit just kind of crashing down. But it still struck me as weird. Like, I felt Ashley didn't hold Monique accountable for any of her actions. She was just like, oh, she made a mistake. Like, that's a pretty fucking major mistake.
Yeah, and also I felt like there was a moment in her confessional where she referred to her previous beef with Candace. And there was an element of pettiness to her response, which I don't like to say about Ashley, but nobody's perfect. And I think there was an element of like, well, she fucked me over, so this isn't the worst news in the world. Like, to be honest, it is what it is. That being said, I think that Ashley needed to take a stronger stance. Like, you can be sympathetic and you can be supportive, but when Monique says, I am not remorseful, that is not okay.
No, and I feel like Ashley and Karen were both just like team Monique cheerleaders, not real friends being like, no, you fucked up. We love you, but you fucked up.
Well, and part of me wonders if there was a reaction like that from Ashley and Karen, because both of them have been through very high profile negative scandals. Obviously, Karen with the tax thing, and Ashley because she's married to the world's biggest dickhead. Yeah. And so I wondered if there was an element of empathy on that level. That being said, I still think you have to draw the line between that and actually violent behavior.
Absolutely. Physical violence and just talking shit are two very, very different things.
And I was astonished. Like, if I was to give Monique not any credit, but if there was something that I would like to say about Monique, is that if this had happened because she drank so much and she blacked out and this occurred, we would all be saying to her, you need to get your drinking under control. Whatever it is, whatever the problem is, you need to deal with that. And I don't think it's any different that the blackout came from rage. I think it's a different kind of problem, but I think that there is an element of saying, and I think actually Karen says this, and I respect Karen for saying this, you have anger problems and you need to get this sorted. So there is an element of me that's like, this might not be Monique that we're talking to as much as this angry beast that resides within her.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also feel that in addition to talking to her pastor, she needs to seek some medical professional mental health person.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I'm not a religious person, and if you are religious, then please know that I absolutely 100% respect your right to do so. But I do think that if there is some anger issues or whatever, that you do need some sort of professional trained to deal directly with that rather than your pastor. Particularly, sure, there is a room for your conversation with your pastor, but it is that is not the solution.
No, it's not the be-all, end-all. Like, because I know a lot of pastors do have kind of counseling backgrounds, and I think that's great. Like, you do need to talk to somebody but they need to kind of be the bridge to help you talk to someone who is really skilled at dealing with internal rage. Because that's what I'm going to call it. It's not just normal anger. Like, it's rage.
So if you black out, and I believe that she did. I mean, we talked about this.
Totally.
You could see it in her eyes. She was gone. If you black out, there is a problem. Whatever the reason for that blackout is, whether it's rage, alcohol, drugs, whatever, there's a problem that needs fixing because it's a real dangerous thing.
Absolutely. I mean, and even Chris identifies with this. Like, you know, you've let all these stressful things just build up and build up and build up. Like, he kind of seemed not surprised that this was going to happen, you know, because she's not really dealing with all those small stressors. Like we saw when she was talking in her confessional about putting everybody in these little boxes. I know I keep going back to that, but it's like that you can't compartmentalize that much shit and still be all right. You need to deal with those boxes because this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you know, she's been through a stressful time. All of that is true. That doesn't make her actions excusable in any way, but it does mean that there is something that she needs to work on and fix. And I don't believe she's irredeemable. I think she can come back from this, but she needs to get to a point, even at the very end, when, you know, Karen gives her the harsh word and is like, you know, you need to use this opportunity to make sure that you can show other young black girls that you knew it was wrong and you did it wrong and you can come back stronger. And she's like, yeah, well, as long as they don't provoke you. And it's like, dude, just stop.
I completely disagree with putting onus on Candace for this situation. Because you know what? People are going to talk shit. Like, it's just the way it is. It's human nature. It's what people do. You alone are in control of how you handle that, and putting your hands on people is never okay. I mean, I have these conversations with my kids almost daily.
Yeah, like, you're really on that, and I've noticed that when you are really on that, but it's victim blaming. It's like telling a girl who got raped it was because she was too drunk or she was wearing the wrong thing, and you don't ever physically invade somebody's personal being and self. You don't put your hands on somebody. There is no justification.
No, there's not.
No justification.
And I think I sit more on like Robin and Wendy's side. Like Robin and Wendy, I thought were pretty respectful, like listening to her, but then they're just like, you're talking shit. Like, we know it was you that leaked that shit to the blogs because it was all your side and was really pro you. And the way you've conducted yourself afterwards shows you have no remorse and you don't really care. So why the fuck are we even here?
No, and I 100% agree. And I really appreciated Robin's way of handling it. I thought she's one of my favorites. She's like, you almost had me.
Right.
Until you lied. I was like,
I love Robin. I think she's
I
such
do
a
too.
straight shooter and such like a normal person, like not poking the bear, but also not letting people get away with bullshit.
Well, and Giselle makes a really good point as well, and something that made me think about what we talked about last week when I said, this isn't the Monique that we're used to seeing. And Giselle said, actually, there is a history of this. Like, you have threatened to drag Candace before. You have you hit Robin with an umbrella before.
She like choked Robin with the umbrella.
Yeah, there
like
has
cop
been.
choke style.
And when they did that montage, I was like, you know what?
You're right.
This is a kind of pattern of behavior. And this is the first time it's escalated to this level. But we have seen this in Monique before.
Well, we've also heard it. Like, watching that montage made me kind of flash back to, I think it was like the first episode where after they had the party for Ashley, like the dinner, the audio afterwards between Candace and Monique, there's a very different, like, Monique voice and way of speaking when she's on camera versus when she's off. And I think we got a little glimpse of that in that first season. And I kind of had forgotten about it until watching that montage. And I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, I feel there's a whole different Monique that we've never really seen. And it's this girl.
I agree. And I'm interested to see where it goes. It looks like this is a problem that manifests within this group throughout the rest of the season. And I appreciate that, because you can't, when you've got a tight-knit group of girlfriends, I mean, that shit doesn't happen every day. One of them doesn't physically assault the other. So that is going to be a problem. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. And I just hope Monique can get to a point where she can recognize that she owes Candace an apology, even if she still doesn't believe that she was wrong in terms of the initial point of the conversation. She still owes her apology for putting her hands on her.
100%. And I mean, I'm not saying that they need to be friends or they need to get together or anything like that, but Monique does need to apologize for assaulting her. Like, that's not okay. It's not cool in any sort of situation. And I think that needs to come out of Monique's mouth in some way. And until it does, I don't think there is going to be any resolution to the issue.
No, I mean, the fact that Monique says taunting in words is just as bad as laying hands on someone just goes to show how, like, there's no perspective here for her at all.
Right. Well, and even, I mean, let's talk about Candace's perception for a little bit, because we see her go to therapy like she's been doing to kind of deal with her mom's stuff and all this. And I thought she brought up something really interesting, like the trauma of like somebody putting their hands on you is a pretty major thing. And that's hard to deal with. I don't know how I would deal with it.
No, and I think it's interesting because I think as time has gone on over the past week, that has the shock has worn off, and the reality of what happened is set in. Because I remember feeling that Candace was really chilled about it the next morning, but I still think that there was shock there. And I don't think you can underestimate it. And I think people will write it off as going, oh, so she pulled her hair, whatever, But actually, that was terrifying. She was attacked, and she was under threat, because it wasn't even after she'd let go, Monique was still going for her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do feel, and I felt like Candace in therapy was willing to accept her part in it, and was able to say that she did provoke. There's no doubt she did, but that at the same time, nothing justifies what happened after that.
No, well, and even going back a little bit, Monique and Candace were really tight for a long time. So like even that loss of that relationship, because this has made it done. Like, I don't really know where you come back from this as friends. And I mean, I think the therapist really identifies it as like, you've lost your, like, a sister.
Yeah, it's grief as well, right?
Yeah.
You're grieving the loss of a friendship. And it is hard. And I feel for her. And I just, and I think the new Candace is taking this in a really mature way. I don't think she's playing the victim. I don't think she's playing the drama queen. I hope that stays that way. But at the moment, she seems to be dealing with this in a pretty mature, balanced, measured way. So we'll see how that shitstorm plays out.
Yeah, it's It's incredible. It's such a good season of this show.
I mean, can you actually imagine, like, reaching over the table, grabbing me by my hair, and slamming my head on the table? I mean,
No.
I can't even imagine what has to happen for us to get to that point.
No. I mean, that's just not who we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because I was kind of thinking back to all the different fights that we've seen on the different Housewives shows, and like Rinna like breaking that glass and kind of throwing it at Kim when they were on holiday, and like those kind of things. And I can't even imagine what it would take for us personally, like our friendship, where that would even come in. I don't know.
I think it's a confluence of circumstances, right?
Yeah.
I think like the perfect storm has to happen, because I wouldn't like to say that there's no way I'd ever lose my shit, because I've lost my shit.
Totally.
Like, I've lost my shit. I did throw a cup of tea. I threw a cup of tea over Jimmy once. So that, you know, that I do have it in me. But
well, I think we all do, don't we?
Yeah. But I honestly think that it would take a lot. It would take a lot.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe there's not that level of drama in my life. Like, thinking about the Housewives, like, they're on a TV show. A lot of them are married to high-profile men. There's a lot of shit that goes around with all that, and, like, that is just missing from my life. Like, that's not my situation. So I think there's probably not a lot of, like, that kind of stuff that could go on, and I'm just not a physical person. I mean, I'll yell at you, I'll debate with you, I'll have words with you, but I have never in my life put my hands on someone like that.
No, I haven't either. And I've had my fair share of drama. 2019 was dramatic for me.
It was.
It was really dramatic. But I can't imagine getting it physical.
No.
Also, be a massive weed. I hated hockey at school because I was like, those bats are too hard and that ball is too hard. Like, I'm not into it. I'm not into the pain, the fighting.
No. The only pain I go through is like my workout pain, and it's all self-inflicted.
Yeah, I don't even really go through that much either. But I'm a lover, not a fighter. What can I say? Anyway, listen, that's Potomac. So let's move on. Okay, so let's get on with Below Deck Med.
Oh, and the ass grab heard round the world.
Well, not really an ass grab, though, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an ass grab at all. It was actually no big deal in my opinion.
It was no big deal in everybody's opinion in the entire world except Jeff. It was baffled. I'm baffled.
I am too, because Rob was like, I didn't even feel an ass grab. I was just like, I don't feel like I grabbed his ass. Like, I think it's one of those, like, perspective things. Like, she thought that's what she saw, but she's also, like, way far away. It's just ridiculous.
But I also think this isn't about the ass grab. Whatever it is, it just triggered some serious shit in her. And I feel for her, because there's clearly been some damage. Like, there's clearly been somebody who's screwed her over, or who's abandoned her, or cheated on her, or whatever. And I really empathize and sympathize with that. But at the same time, you have to get out of your own way. And she is so much in her own way.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to give her a cuddle and go, you need to stop.
You're destroying this.
You are sabotaging this.
Yeah.
And even if it was an ass grab, like, who cares? If he's with you, he's with you.
Right.
Like, Jimmy's had his ass grabbed by other women, I'm sure.
Yeah. Men, too.
Almost certainly. I don't give a shit. He's married to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, this guy has told you, like, he loves you, he wants to be with you. Like, you need to take that for what it is. Like, I don't feel like Rob is the type of guy out to fuck her over by any means. I think he's super sensy. I think if she could just get out of her way, it would be what she wants it to be.
Yeah, somebody made a really interesting, really concise, incisive point about the way that Jess talks about her anger issues. And she does this kind of cutesy confessional where she's like, do I have anger issues? I don't think I have anger issues. Now, this follower, and I wish I could remember her name, and I could go back to it, but it would take forever. She was like, you know what, that pissed me off, because if that had been a man talking about his anger issues and making light of them like that, it would not have been tolerated.
No.
And she is right. It is not okay. And I'm a feminist, but I think feminism means that if we want equality, we have to be equally accountable.
Yeah.
And for her to be cutesy and girlsy, all about these anger issues, which are terrifying.
Deep.
Like
Yeah.
Bugsy, the way she spoke to Bugsy.
The way she's threatening Aisha, who is like the sweetest person in the world and doesn't want your dude at all, is mind-blowing.
If a man had said the exact words that she said in the exact tone,
yeah,
we would be up in arms, rightly so.
100%.
But we cannot give Jess a pass on that behavior because she's a woman. I just don't think it's okay. And I read that and I went, fuck, I never would have considered that. I'm annoyed I never would have considered that because I feel like I need to be, you know, that should be. But I'm pleased that listener pointed it out, and I'm really relieved because it was so fucking unacceptable.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about how up in arms we are about Monique putting her hands on Candace, like this woman has just threatened to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same scenario. Yeah. What the fuck?
No, sweetie, we use our words.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is. It's mind blowing. That reaction is mind blowing to me, and I get that it comes from a place of hurt and pain and trauma. I understand all of that, but at a certain point, the only person who can deal with that is her, and she can either recognize the root cause of this anger, or she can continue to be in her own way and block out love and life and laughter throughout. And she has to watch that back and go, I need to get some fucking help about that.
I think it'll be really interesting because they are doing a reunion, so we'll have a reunion to watch. It will be very interesting, I think, in how that is dealt with on the reunion. I hope that she takes and is like, I need some, versus just doubling down and being like, nope, I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, she grabbed his ass. That's what she did. That's the reaction.
Yeah, I hope so too. And we've talked about it before. I think whether or not you'd like to be a reality TV star, I think there is a gift that it gives you, which is the benefit of hindsight and really 20/20 vision on your actions and your behavior, which nobody else ever gets, right? You can look back at that and go, fuck, that's how it really happened, because we all have a version of every event in our head. So, and I think that's a gift if you want to learn to grow and you want to learn to be more self-aware. And I always get annoyed when reality TV stars aren't grateful for that and don't use that tool that none of us get to have. And it always annoys me. It's a perfect example for Jess to see it, do some fucking growth, and be a bigger, better person.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We never saw Hannah do it, which always kind of blew my mind a little bit because Hannah had been on the show for ages. And so she's got like season after season to like see herself doing those same things and change. Below Deck is a bit different because a lot of them are just like do one season and they're done. And it's like a whole new crew or parts of new crew or whatever. But I really hope Jess takes this gift for what it is and is like, fuck, I need to do some work. I just need to get that shit sorted. And actually, things would be great after that.
I agree. Now, Rod's got himself into slightly sticky situation as well, because I do not blame him, like, one bit.
No.
Deciding to ditch Bali and do the crossing. And also, it's a smart choice, right? If he wants to make yachting his career, he can get all the hours and the certificates, whatever it is. It's the smart choice. But I am genuinely fearful for his safety when he tells Jess he's not going to Bali anymore.
Yeah, which, I mean, again, like, girl, you have just pushed him away. And B, like, you planned to go by yourself from the beginning anyways, so things haven't really changed. Just go by yourself, get some soul searching done, and do all that. And actually, you're 100% correct. The crossing is the way better choice for Rob.
100%.
On many different levels.
He wants to be an engineer. He wants to do that. This would make it possible.
And I think it's pretty awesome that like the first mate, what's his name, David, is like can help him make that happen. And at first I kind of poo-pooed Rob like going to Sandy to like talk about these personal issues. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I was like,
but
she's got better things to do, dude.
But that's what this has come from, right? She was like, actually, you know, we could do this. There is a crossing coming up, which would be really good for you professionally and maybe good for you personally. And I liked that conversation, though I didn't initially like it when I first saw it happen.
Like the fact that he did it. I was like, don't go to mum with like your tittle tattles. She's not got shit in time for that.
She doesn't give a fuck.
She's going to sit there all eyes and go, really? You're coming to me with like boyfriend, girlfriend stuff?
You've been together 3 weeks. Still out.
But actually, I think Sandy handled it really well. And I think even though I really disagree with a lot of what Sandy's done, I think there is part of her, and I think it's probably part of going through the program and the 12 steps and things, that is genuinely open to validating people's experiences and feelings. And I think that was this. It was like, yes, all right, it might not seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal to him. And you know what? We can have a chat about it. So I appreciated that. She still got some work to do to get back into my good books, but I gave her credit for that.
Yeah. I also appreciate the way she looks out for others' careers.
Yeah.
I mean, because like her or not, she's done a lot for Malia and lets people drive the boat and do different parts of different jobs to really grow professionally. And I think that's where she came from this with Rob. Like, you know what? I can help professionally. I can't help personally, but I can help professionally. And this is an opportunity that's come up and we'd be happy for you to join and we can make it happen. And I like that she's always kind of looking out for ways to expand the professional career of her crew. I feel she's the only kind of, at least on camera, the only captain that really does that way.
I agree, and I think she's been consistent in that, and I think she respects that need to pay it forward because she will have been given some seriously big breaks to get where she is today.
Totally.
So I think that, that I respect. But yeah, I think that last episode next week is going to be pretty feisty.
Oh yeah, because I think we're going to see the fallout from him not going.
Yeah.
Also which is always tricky on that last go round.
Well, let's also, before we move on from Below Deck, just discuss, I mean, I don't want to give him a high five for being like less whingy, slightly less annoying.
Right.
But Tom was slightly less whingy and annoying this week.
Tom pulled it out this week. I think he handled foibles in a respectful manner. He communicated about when he wanted to take a nap, even if it didn't happen the first go round. It happened the second go round. Like, he just kind of did what he's been needing to do all season, right? And actually, I feel like we saw a better side of Tom this episode. You're 100% right. It doesn't make up for the fucking billion episodes that we had to watch him being a dick, especially to people who are really sweet. But I think he's done some serious self-reflection whilst on the boat and realizes how dickish he probably seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last starter. I mean, I feel like he, as a grown man, he could probably have figured that shit out a little bit earlier. But credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
you did a good
strokes.
job, Tom. Whatever. Anyway, let's move on to our third and final show, which is, of course, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I actually thought this was quite an interesting episode this week.
It was. It was all about, like, Sisterland, in a way.
Sisterland and Corey.
Yes. Corey.
And Landscape. Let's start with Landscape.
All right.
So I thought this was kind of a heartwarming little interlude.
I agree. I love that we have seen Scott grow so much. Like, I love that this show, part of why the show exists is because we all love it. But also, we have gotten to see Scott from like his early 20s and just like all the shit that he's kind of dealt with in his life. And we've seen him really finally take it on and like grow as a human being, as a man, as a person. And I think Lampgate kind of sums it up really nicely. Like, he fucked up. He wanted to hide it. And his son called him out on it. And he took it on the chin and was like, you're 100% correct. I need to set a better example for you without flipping out, without doing all that. and like own up to it. I think that right there is Scott in a nutshell.
And I love him for it. And I think what I find consistent amongst those reality TV cast members, whatever show it is that I'm watching, that makes me warm to them, is their ability to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Scott really has in spades. And it's been a tough lesson for him to learn. But he is okay with admitting he's got stuff wrong. He's okay with being vulnerable. And, I mean, he's not okay with going up to Chris and telling her that he's broken a vintage lamp. But then who the fuck would be?
Dude, Chris is scary, man. Like, I would be afraid to do that. I'd be afraid to tell my mom I broke, like, a really expensive lamp.
Also, Chris, I love you, babe, and I have had to let go of some of this shit, but you are going to have to let go of this too. You have an enormous house in Palm Springs, which you have stuffed with literally 1,200 people. 100 of those are children. You cannot get salty about the fact that there's shit around that house.
No. It's just the way it's going to be.
It's the way it's going to be. And when you and Corey are there by yourself, fine. Live in your perfection. And I would do the same. But you have to let go. It's not a disrespect thing. It's just a living in a fucking house thing. And a pool noodle on a kid's bed is not the end of the fucking world.
That's like the least thing you should be freaking out about in a vacation house filled with 1 million people.
Do you know who she reminded me of?
Who?
I'm going to get in so much trouble if this gets back to her. She reminded me of my sister. I love my sister, but fuck me if you leave a mess in her house. Like, her house is not for living in.
Yeah.
In the way that normal humans live.
Right.
It's like for living in the way that Samantha lives. And I love her, but if this gets back to her, I swear to God, I'm going to roast it.
Oh, I laugh because I know Samantha, and I can see definitely where you're coming from. I've also been on holiday.
That was very diplomatic, Reagan Kempton. But I'll let you be diplomatic. I'll let you fence it for a while.
Let me be diplomatic, because I've actually never like stayed at her house like that. I've never been in that environment. I think I popped in once, but I have been on vacation with the whole Knowles Fitton crew, and they like to have a good time. Like, I've seen vacations with your family. They are a lot of fun. And vacation, they wouldn't be that bothered by shit being a mess, but probably in their own home, it'd be a different story.
If you were vacationing in Sam's house, that would be a problem. But if you're vacationing in somebody else's house, she's fine. It is her own space, and I do appreciate that. But I also have I've had to learn to let go of this shit myself. So I'm talking from experience.
For sure.
But listening to her be like, "This house is a mess," I was like, "Oh, it sounds like me," but actually, it sounds a lot like my sister too. Anyway. Lampgate was heartwarming amid a flurry of fucking fury between the sisters this week. Oh
my! I mean, I've said this before on the podcast. I don't have sisters, so I don't, like, me and my brothers don't have that dynamic. It just does not exist with brothers, which is something I always find really fascinating. It doesn't exist between my boys. It doesn't exist between me and my brothers. My brothers don't give a fuck what I'm wearing to go out.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not annoyed that you're wearing.
They're not annoyed at all. They're very easygoing. You know, we have a very traditional dynamic because I'm the oldest and I have 2 little brothers. So, like, there's a dynamic there that exists. But holy fuck balls, these girls were just
something else.
Let's
talk about Courtney and Chloe, because I thought this was really interesting, because neither of us have been fans of Courtney by any means.
Yeah.
She has been very annoying to watch. That being said, I was really surprised at how I felt about her this week. I actually felt more empathy for Courtney and more love for Courtney than I did for Chloe. Go figure.
I know. I feel like this episode really, like, it shocked me that because I felt the exact same way, and it shocked me that I felt this way, because I'm really ride or die Chloe. I think she's lovely, but I feel she was picking on Courtney, and Courtney came into this weekend in a very open-minded, go with the flow kind of mode. Even if she didn't like what was going on, she was there for it, and there for the spirit of, like, being together as a family, which was such a breath of fresh air from Courtney, the queen of the whinge.
I know, right?
But Chloe was picking on her a bit.
Well, there were two incidents in particular. And, of course, the one was where they're playing the family game and Kourtney's involved and she's playing and she gets up to help Reign with something at the table.
Yeah.
And Chloe immediately jumps on her. She's like, be present, be involved. And Chloe's like, fuck off, I was being present, involved. But she doesn't do that. Actually, what she does is control her reactions. And I feel like Kourtney has maybe been doing some work on herself and has realized that she has to deal with the world the way it is, not how she wants it to be. And the only thing that she can control is her reactions. And she does that beautifully. And then the second time is when Chloe's, all going out for the sister thing. And she's like, oh, we're going to have a great time. She's like, listen, it's not the thing that I'd love to do, but I'm so excited about hanging out with the girls. And Chloe can't accept that. She wants Kourtney to be somebody else. And just not Kourtney. And she needs to be okay with that.
Well, kind of who Kourtney used to be. And I mean, look, like I'm a fan of chasing the buzz. I think our husbands can really attest to the fact they really hate it when Kat and I are together. They love it because it's good for us.
But I might have just done a reel about that.
But things change, and I think Kourtney has changed a lot, and I think Kourtney has grown a lot, and I think Kourtney takes her role as being a mom very, very seriously, and her kids are gorgeous. Like, her kids are very normal in a level that I would not have expected for always being on reality TV and living around cameras and just who their family is. And I think Kourtney has worked very hard to make that a reality for her kids, like make being normal. So like Chloe needs to back off and like give her some slack, because Kourtney's the one that's been dealing with all this, motherhood and reality TV and figuring out who she is all on this show, starting with an unplanned pregnancy at the very beginning,
Yeah. And I think people do change and sisters change, and it's hard when they change because, you build a relationship with them and you have to sort of rebuild that, but it's part of how it goes. And Chloe, I think, needs to reflect on that a little bit more.
Well, and come on, there's a million sisters. So if one doesn't want to drink, that's fine. Drink with another.
Yeah, Kylie's up for it.
Yeah, Kylie's well up for it.
Yeah, she's a party animal in Kendall's outfit. So let's talk about that.
I have to say, hand to God, I think this is one of the stupidest fights I've ever seen play out. And obviously, it's not just about the outfit. It's about a lot of, like, underlying issues between Kendall and Kylie. But I just don't care. Like, I don't think I've seen enough of them to, like, be invested in their relationship.
I hear you. I mean, listen, it is a sad, sorry state of affairs when the Kardashians are arguing over one outfit. I mean, these bitches have more clothes than God, and for the love, and you're right, obviously it's not about the outfit,
right?
But I do hope they look at that. Kendall looks at it and goes, yeah, that felt a bit petty. As I look back on that feels a bit petty.
Well, and to get into a massive fight in a car also about, like, dropping somebody off.
What is it with people fighting?
I have no idea, but it got real physical real fast.
Got really physical really fast. And this is interesting because this is where Corey comes into it. Now, Corey, for me, I've never figured him out, right?
Yeah.
And again, he doesn't feature that much in the show. I have no doubt. One thing I am sure about, I have no doubt that he adores Chris and that his first and foremost priority is making sure that Chris is happy, supported, and safe.
Yes.
That I will give Corey. In terms of his role in the family, I find it very hard to figure him out because he is very close to Kylie, fine sort of with everybody else, but he kind of has, I don't know, is there a bit of an attitude problem?
I think so. I mean, I was thinking about this while I was watching the episode because Corey came on the picture when Caitlyn was also transitioning. So I do wonder if, like, Corey's relationship to Kylie is a little bit more fatherly, for lack of a better term, because she was dealing with a lot of stuff with her dad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he kind of came on the scene when a lot of stuff was going on. And I do wonder if maybe he was there for them in ways that obviously we didn't see. And maybe that kind of really strengthened that bond between him and Kylie in particular, because she's the youngest, right? But it's like a weird dynamic. Like, is he a stepdad? Is he a friend?
Yeah.
Is he just this weird older dude that drinks with her? Because in any other form, that's uncomfortable. I don't know.
That's what made me feel uncomfortable. Like, the way that he's, like, running around. Like, when Kendall's pissed that she's wearing the outfit and she goes into a room and says, well, you fucking ruin my night, so I'll say what I like. She goes into the room. And Kylie kind of struts past her with her arm up, like, I don't give a fuck, bitch. And then giggles about it. And Corey's kind of like a little girlfriend with her, like, giggling and running around the corner. And that, for me, is, like, weird.
Yeah,
like,
it is weird.
Mom's boyfriend,
right?
You need to be not mates with these girls as much as, you know, there is an element of being removed from that.
Well, and I think the hard thing is, and everybody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Corey met Chris through Chloe. Like, Corey's their age.
I think you're right, yeah.
So I think it is a weird place for Corey to be. I mean, I don't know how you, like, put up boundaries and, like, okay, but now I'm your mom's boyfriend, not your friend anymore. And I'm not really, like, their stepdad because Chris and I aren't married. I'm just their mom's boyfriend. It's a weird place to be for, I think, everybody involved.
And to give Corey credit, I wouldn't relish having to try and get into the Kardashian clan. Like, that is a fucking uphill battle if ever there was one. That being said, I think his problem, which is what Chris manages to do really well, and he can't do, is he almost gets himself embroiled in it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think he should be removed. Like, even though he gets on really well with Kylie, his role is not to side or collude with her. His role is to be a more adult, distanced parenting voice, because that's his role with Chris, not to be part of the fucking problem. And I think that's his immaturity showing.
100%. And we see Chris handle that really well at the beginning of the episode when she's just watched the girls fighting on the show. And we see her really handle that balance really well. Like, she talks to him about it, doesn't get in their shit, like, talks about it, says it's really hard to watch you guys do that, and calls Courtney immediately and is there for her as a mom, right? Like, not as a manager, not chastising her behavior on TV, just like, oh my gosh, how are you? That was really hard to watch. Are you okay? And I think Chris is a master of many, many things. And I think her ability to still be the kid's mom, still run their businesses, and get on with them, but, like, her role is very much the role of the mom. Like, she doesn't get petty. She has a good time with them, like with the pranks and things like that, but she doesn't get in their fight shit. Like, she lets them work that out.
Well, yeah, and even as a manager, you have a very distinct duty of care. So even if she was just Courtney's manager and she'd seen that, she should have been on the phone asking Courtney if she was okay. And I think that's what Chris does really, really well, is find that balance. And she sort of manages with a heart head, like with a, you know, she balances that really well. But I just feel like Corey needs to step back. And when we see Kendall relaying the conversation to Chris, you can see her immediately go into manager mode. And that's manager mode, because that's when she's like, I have to hear every side of this story. I'm not going to stand up and defend Corey. I'm not going to say that Kylie's wrong. I'm right now I'm here and I'm listening to Kendall. Yeah. And that's what I have to do. And you can see that's when the manager kicks in. She's not going to make a judgment now. She needs to get every side to the story. Whereas a mum might be more emotive or more connected to a defensive or whatever. She doesn't get defensive. And I thought that was really interesting. In terms of the fight, I don't know whether Corey smacked Kendall. I mean, if there are two two fucking grown women scrapping, then if one of them gets a slap in breaking it up, then they fucking deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, as a parent,
I don't mean they deserve it. I mean, that's it has to be a recognized consequence. It's like
Right.
It's likely to happen. Like, don't go to the pool
guess,
if you don't want to get splashed. Don't get in a fight if you don't want to get hit.
yeah, and I guess I missed the part where she said Corey hit her. I know she said she hit Kylie, and Kylie, like, got her shoe up in her neck. I didn't hear anything about Corey hitting, and that could just be totally me. But I guess in my, like, parent brain, I'd be like, maybe he was just, like, trying to separate them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like, you get physical, the fucking rules are out the window,
Yeah.
and shit's going to go down, and you can't then cry about it, you know?
No, and I can't believe someone just they just left her at a gas station in the middle of Palm Springs, too.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I mean, that's what I have a problem with. Like, Corey as the adult in the car.
Exactly.
Should be like, we are waiting here until she comes out from using the restroom. Because we are not leaving her at a gas station in Palm Springs.
No, and that's why Corey needs to learn from Chris. And Corey needs to step up and elevate himself and stand next to Chris rather than hang out, like, just below her and above the kids and do all of that. Because he needs to be fucking Sweden. No, Switzerland. He needs to be Switzerland. It's been a long week. Chris is Switzerland. He needs to be Switzerland, and he's taking sides, and he's adding fuel to the fire, and he needs to grow the fuck up.
100%.
So now that we've sorted that shit out.
Yep. Leave it to us. We can handle it all.
That's it. But that's us done for this week.
It is.
Thank you once again for giving up your time to listen to us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Remember to look out on social media for the Postbag feature. We'll be setting you up with a new question as soon as we can. In the meantime, you're about to head off on your weekend away.
I am. My garage door keeps opening and closing because of the contractor people coming to work. So I keep, like, trying to shut it after they go in, and then they've opened it again. And anyways. It's life of a car podcaster. Yes.
Well, listen, go away. Have a wonderful time in Aspen.
Oh, I will do. And everybody have a great week. Let's all support Kat in her first week without children at home underfoot. Gonna have an amazing time. We'll be both brand new women next week.
Well, I'm probably not going to be productive at all. I'm probably just going to spend the whole time in my pajamas watching reality TV and making mimosas at 11. But I'm fine with that too.
Either way, it's your week.
It's my week, my time.
All right, guys.
All
yeah.
right.
Everybody else have a great week. We will see you next weekend.
We will. And remember,
smart people watch reality TV too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Please subscribe, rate, and review TV My Husband Hates wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at TV My Husband Hates and join the Facebook group to keep the conversation going when the podcast ends. If Twitter's your thing, you'll find us at TV Husbands Hate. Theme music and production for TV My Husband Hates is by Jimmy Sims.